our 2020 Veterans Pinning ceremony of our veterans that have been with us since 2019. They moved in sometime in November of 2019 till present. We're going to be honoring today. Unfortunately, it's not like years past when we've been able to sit together without these wonderful adornments on our faces, and we've been able to gather inside. So we're making the best of what year 2020 has brought us. So we'll start off the ceremony today with the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner. Thank you all. So, well, many of you know, the flag that we all just raised to, unfortunately we didn't have one out here, but it was always in our thoughts and our hearts. The red on the flag stands for the hardiness and the valor of the United States. The white of the flag stands for our purity and our innocence. And the blue on the flag represents our vigilance, our perseverance, and our justice. And with all that, the men and women that we're going to be honoring today sacrificed time, not just in the service, they also raised children, they held the home fronts down. So we're going to be acknowledging them for their service to ensure that all of our freedoms and our values that we cherish as American citizens remain free. The first one that I'd like to start off with today, this gentleman served in the U.S. Army as a private. He served in the Korean War. He went into the reserves at the young age of 16. After he enlisted, he was transferred into the Army at 17. And he said the best part about this was his basic training. He spent time at 17 in Hawaii. He said it was great. He's not with us right now, but Mr. Jim Spencer, we want to honor him, and also his wife, Martha. The next one we'd like to honor served in the United States Army as a sergeant. He was great. He had great aim. He never missed a target. He received the Sharpshooter Award. He served in the United States Army for 3 years. Mr. Jim Clevenger. If you'd stand, we'd like to give you your certificate. We're just going to re-acknowledge Mr. Spencer real quick, since now he's with us and his lovely wife. So this is a gentleman. We just talked about you. This is a young gentleman that went into the reserves at 16, and at 17 he was enlisted in the Army. And this is a gentleman that got to spend his basic training in Hawaii. I don't think he could have done it in a better place. You got vacation and training at the same time. Mr. James Spencer and his wife, Martha. And what we're also giving them today is those of you that are veterans and we've honored you in the past, you have a magnet on your door. If it's a white magnet, that symbolizes to the community and the passers-by that you yourself, in fact, served in the United States Armed Forces. If your magnet is blue on the door, it says that you are the spouse of someone who has served. And many doors in the community, because we're such a highly populated military area, have two, because they themselves have served and they're the spouse of someone who has served. So as you walk around the community, you will see those magnets on the residence doors. The next one I'd like to honor today served in the United States Navy. He was a captain. He served in the Vietnam War. He served shore bombardment in Vietnam, not once, not twice, but 4 times. Once on a cruiser and 3 different times on different destroyers. He also supported the U.S. Army and the United States Marine Corps. He received several awards. He spent time in the Mediterranean on the USS Saratoga, and he devoted 35 years to the United States Navy. Mr. Robert Rogers. The next one that we would like to recognize served in the United States Air Force as a captain. He was also a pediatrician. He was stationed stateside, and he enjoyed his time in the Air Force. While in Maine, not only did he acquire many friends while treating the families of the deployed sailors, but he also enjoyed to ski the slopes. Let's honor Dr. Ed Ballard and his wife, Dr. Jean Ballard, for their service. The next individual we'd like to honor served in the United States Navy for 6 years as a chief. Not only that, but he also devoted 16 years to the United States Army as a master sergeant. He spent 3 years in Vietnam during the war and a year in Korea. He spent time in Japan, Turkey, Spain, and Italy. He shared with us an amazing story on how he achieved his Bronze Star. He said that he got the Bronze Star for saving an Army general who was drowning in the South China Sea off of Vietnam. He saved him with an air mattress. He loved his time in the service so much, he refers to it as his 20-year vacation. I think that says a lot. Mr. Lewis Ribble. The next individual I'd like to honor served in the United States Navy for 27 years as a commander. He started his career at the Naval Academy. He served in Vietnam during the war and also in Grenada. He received the Air Boss while he was on the Nimitz and the Distinguished Flying Cross. He enjoyed the military lifestyle and all the challenges that kept him busy. While he was in Vietnam and returning to the Nimitz from his A-6 intruder, he was the last plane to land on the ship, and as he was coming down, he was under enemy fire. Although the plane took several bullets, he escaped safely. He also has his flight logs and his jacket on display in Norfolk at Nauticus. He was supported through his 20-year vacation by his wife, Jean. Let's honor Mr. Jim and Jean Hurston. They're not out here with us today, but we will go give them their certificates and pins in their apartment when we're done. The next gentleman served in the United States Army for 9 years as a first lieutenant. He was called to duty through the draft. He was working on the Phantom F-4Cs and also worked on the defense project. While he did all this, his wife, Miss Patricia, stayed at home and raised their 2 boys. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Jim Daniels and his wife, Patricia. Now we're going to move on to the veteran spouses. This spouse was married to Mr. Stan Kreider. Stan was a captain in the United States Navy for 28 years. He served in Vietnam during 1969. He received the Emeritus Award when he returned home from Vietnam. Stan and his lovely wife, Shirley, loved the military. Shirley's father served in World War II. He's remembered not only by his loving wife, but all those that love him. Mrs. Shirley Kreider. The next wife that stood by her husband while he served our country, Mr. Robert, hold on one second, we're having a wardrobe malfunction. There we go. Mr. Robert Chamberlain was in the United States Navy and he served 4 years. He served in the Korean War. He worked as a parachute rigger. And his philosophy was, the first chute you fold is the one you jump with. He's remembered by his lovely wife and all those that love him, Mrs. Jackie Chamberlain. The next lovely lady couldn't come down with us today, but again, we'll present hers in her apartment. Her husband was Mr. Robert Arthur Sullivan. He served in the United States Army as a 2-star Major General, and he served for 30 years. He was in both Vietnam and the Korean War. He received the Distinguished Service Medal, Silver Star, and Bronze Star. He is remembered and loved by his loving wife, Miss Elizabeth Sullivan. The next individual is Mr. Clinton. And we're not talking Bill. Mr. Clinton was a first-class airman in the United States Air Force. He spent time in Turkey. Him and his lovely wife, Patricia, enjoyed their time while he was in the service. They got to travel all over the world. One of Patricia's most memorable moments was on his promotion ceremony. When he was getting promoted, she wanted a cup of hot coffee. So she got her hot coffee, and as she was going to drink it, she didn't realize that her lips weren't on the cup and her nose went in the coffee as her husband was getting promoted. That's one of her most memorable. He is loved and remembered by all of his loved ones and his lovely wife, Miss Patricia Clinton. This next lovely lady couldn't come down with us today, but again, we're going to bring her up to her apartment when we're done. Her husband was Mr. Glenn Graham. He was a pilot in the United States Air Force for over 20 years. He spent time in Japan. He also served in World War II. He received the Purple Heart, and he was remembered and loved by his lovely wife and all those that love him, Mrs. Frances Farrell. Okay, there we go. This next lovely lady was married to Mr. John Farrell. He was Lieutenant Commander in the United States Navy, and he served for over 24 years. He spent time in the United States and also in all the NATO countries. He thoroughly loved his experience in the military, and after his experience in the military, he went on to teach public school for almost 22 years. When Kennedy was assassinated, when the assassination of Kennedy took place, Mr. Farrell wasn't able to be at home with his family. He was stationed on an aircraft carrier, the USS Hornet, but his only concern was his wife and his family. He's remembered and he's loved by his loving wife, Mrs. Judy Farrell. The next three that we'll mention, unfortunately, aren't down here with us, but again, we're going to take them upstairs when we're done. This lovely lady, those of you that know Miss Margaret Campbell, she was married to Mr. Craig Campbell. He was an E-8 senior chief in the United States Navy. He served for over 22 years. He enjoyed his experience while in the military, and he's remembered by his lovely wife, Miss Margaret Campbell. The next individual is Mrs. Claire Niehoff. She was married to Mr. Luther Niehoff, and he was a chief petty officer in the United States Navy for 20 years. He enjoyed his time, and he's remembered by his lovely wife and all those that love him. And the last individual that we'd like to honor today is Mrs. Nancy Street. She was married to Mr. Roland Street, and he was an aviation mechanic that served in the United States Air Force for over 10 years. He spent time in Japan, and he loved being stationed over there and repairing all of the aircraft. He's remembered and he's loved by his loving wife and his children, Mrs. Nancy Street. We thank you guys for all coming today to honor our new veterans. And like I said, I know this isn't like our normal veteran ceremonies, but we're making the best with 2020, what it's brought us. And in closing, I wanted to thank each one of you for all that you do. Our veterans from years past, and our veterans that we've just honored today, and their spouses. You guys do it. You've done it. You've allowed us to have the freedoms that we have today. As Americans, we do know what freedom means. It's the joy and the right to dream. Freedom that we love is not free. It's done and made by sacrifices by those that gave it all. The sacrifice is great, and you give willingly. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of our veterans today, near and far. We appreciate everything you've done for us as we say thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.